3 teenagers are struck by sudden and mysterious stomach pains.
They've run all these tests, they can't find anything. What's wrong with our kid?
Doctors struggle to identify the elusive enemy.
I'm thinking I missed something. Kept asking her questions about, how do you feel, what's hurting?
Will this mysterious attacker kill these 3 teenagers? Will it spread into a deadly rampage, killing hundreds and hundreds more? Orofino, Idaho, September 18, 1994. Teenager Jen Thompson is up early to get ready for the day. But little does she know that today will prove to be very, very different. A day she may not survive. Suddenly, she doubles over with searing pains in her stomach.
Oh, I just instantly was like, whoa. I'm not feeling good. I mean, it was just having the worst stomach cramps you can possibly imagine. I mean, it was awful.
Soon, Jen also begins to suffer from nausea and diarrhea.
And then she ran a fever and just didn't feel well. And I thought, well, maybe she has the flu.
What is causing this violent attack? And why did it come on so fast? Her parents suspect a recent visit to a county fair might also be to blame.
We thought maybe she ate something and didn't agree with her. Kids eat cotton candy and caramel apples, and you don't know where these things have been.
The county fair lasted 4 days, and like a lot of small-town kids, Jen took advantage of having something different to do.
The fair is usually from Thursday afternoon through Sunday afternoon, and I went every day. Kids would get sick. That whole week going back to school from the fair, people were sick. I mean, you're just out that much. So I attribute it to going to the fair.
Have you talked to Jennifer yet this morning?
And so do her parents. They decide to keep her home from school for a few days to recuperate. Jen hasn't been eating much, so her parents try to tempt her with one of her favorite foods, ice cream.
I do not feel good.
I know you don't. Listen, your daddy's gonna be here.
But Jen can barely eat a thing when the attacks of diarrhea and stomach pain get worse.
I hurt so bad I didn't want to eat. So I just laid around or I walked, whatever I could do to try to make the pain better, and just nothing helped.
Her worried father knows it's time to see a doctor. The doctor examines Jen, but he can find nothing to explain her mysterious pains.
A couple days at least.
Unlike her parents, he doesn't think the food from the fair is the cause. He suspects her monthly cycle is to blame.
A young lady of this age, you'd think about ovarian pain, ovulation. She just had 2 prior menses, and it was approximately the right time for her to ovulate again. So ovulation certainly is a possibility, but she'd had several days of pain, and so that didn't make sense.
Dr. Bishop tells Dennis there's not much he can do for Jen. Dennis should simply keep an eye on her in case she gets worse. Because the doctor doesn't seem worried, Sherry keeps a plan to visit her other daughter in another town.
Hold on.
But that night, Dennis wakes up to Jen's screams.
My stomach!
All right, let me feel your forehead.
Just says, Daddy, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And it's just extreme pain. And then it would subside some, and then it'd come back.
How bad? Is it real bad?
I couldn't lay, I couldn't stand. The diarrhea was getting worse. The fever was getting worse. My dad called up to the hospital, into their emergency room, and just said, you know, we've got to do something. What do we do?
Please. That's all right. Hold on. I need to speak to the attending.
The ER pages Dr. Bishop, who is alarmed to hear of Jen's continuing stomach pain.
Has gotten extreme.
Does she have appendicitis, which is an acute emergency that would need surgery? And we wanted them to come in.
It's all right. Just hold on. Where does it hurt?
At the mention of surgery, Jen balks. She is terrified of being cut open.
All right.
You know, I was scared. I'd never went through that before. And, you know, with my mom not being there, I didn't want to go through it.
Dennis calls Sherry, and she rushes home.
Jen?
Oh, hey.
Oh, baby. What's happening?
When I got back and took a look at Jenny, my feeling was, you know, there's more going on. Something just isn't right. And I didn't know, I even thought of her appendix at that point.
What's been going on?
She was real red in the face.
Has she been like this long?
Looks a lot worse.
She looked like she'd been sweating a lot. And just real quiet.
None of it's been good.
Panicked, Sherry contacts a different doctor.
Yeah, my daughter is...
I was told that she was experiencing abdominal pain and that it was quite severe, and she was quite frightened.
Yes.
From Sherry's description over the phone, it sounds very much like an acute appendicitis.
Let me get her. I got you. I got you.
Dr. Mazar urges them to get Jen to the hospital immediately.
It's all right.
My husband drove fairly fast to get us there. And we were all kind of in a daze. I don't think we said 2 words to each other on the way to the hospital. I don't know, maybe we were afraid of our emotions at that moment.
By the time they reach the emergency room, Jen is drenched in sweat and barely coherent.
We were all kind of in a panic. She didn't want to have surgery. She didn't know, you know, what was going to happen. And we tried to keep her as calm as we could. She cried a lot. She wasn't feeling well anyway. And then being frightened on top of that didn't help.
For the Thompsons, it is all happening way too fast. How did Jen's illness escalate so quickly? What could be causing such gut-wrenching pain? For Sherry, the questions are overwhelming.
Is this really serious? Is it life-threatening?
As doctors race to diagnose Jen Thompson, 30 miles away in rural, isolated Craigmont, Idaho, teenager Amber Hasenerl is suddenly hit with mysterious pains.
I got cramps in my stomach and I was starting to sweat and shake really bad and my head hurt.
Are you okay?
Her mom, Patty, a cafeteria worker, notices that Amber is sick.
Maybe you should go home.
She tells her she should go home if she doesn't feel better soon. Although she's feeling queasy, Amber makes it to her basketball game later that day. But just as she's suiting up, sharp pains grip her stomach, followed by intense nausea.
Told my coach, I don't feel good, and it wasn't, I don't feel good, I'm just gonna sit down. It was, I need to go home right now.
Her worried father soon arrives to take her home.
Yeah, it was stomach pain, intense stomach pain. And that's all she would say is just it hurt so bad. It had to hurt awful bad for her not to play in the game.
It was horrible because I didn't know what was happening. It hurt so bad.
Is the same disease attacking both Amber and Jen Thompson? What kind of disease can attack children 30 miles apart? And what could these girls possibly have in common? In Orofino, the overpowering illness has drastically weakened Jen's body in only a few days. Will Amber suffer the same frightening fate? And can doctors come up with the needed answers to protect patients and even themselves from such a treacherous contagion? Idaho teenagers Jen Thompson and Amber Hasenerl are stricken with mysterious and wrenching stomach pains.
In just the 4 days, it just went from being real sick to, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna die.
At the hospital, Dr. Mazar examines a desperately sick Jen Thompson. He's almost certain she has acute appendicitis.
She did have tenderness right over the appendix. She also told me about the diarrhea, and I ascribed the diarrhea to the appendicitis.
If Jen's appendix is swollen, Dr. Mazar needs to move fast to remove it before it ruptures. But he's also worried by Jen's white blood cell count.
There must be a terrible infection in there because the white count is going down instead of up, and this means that the infection is so terrible or so far advanced that the body is using up white cells faster than it can manufacture them.
30 miles away in rural, isolated Craigmont, far from the nearest doctor, Amber Hasenerl is getting sicker and sicker.
Amber was losing weight noticeably. Losing weight, and she was already pretty slim, not eating anything and losing everything that you did eat or drink. It was frustrating to me that I couldn't do anything.
Exhausted and desperate, Ed decides that they can't wait any longer. They have to make the long drive to a doctor. He takes Amber to Valley Medical Center in Lewiston, Idaho. There, the doctors find her dangerously dehydrated.
Her pulse rate was up. Even lying down, it was 110, and when she sat up, it would go up to 130, which is fairly fast. So like when you're jogging, that's about how fast her heart rate was just sitting up, which usually tells us that they're pretty dry.
How are we doing, Amber?
Ed is desperate to know what is wrong with his daughter. But beyond the dehydration, no one seems to know. All they can suggest is the flu. They prescribe medicine for Amber's diarrhea.
Keep an eye on her for the next several hours. See if we can get it.
And the doctors had no idea what was going on. And all the while I'm thinking, it's not the flu. This is something bad, something's going on.
Is the same attacker destroying Jen's body? Back in Orofino, just as Dr. Mazar is about to rush Jen Thompson into an emergency appendectomy, he reviews her recent gynecological history. It shows some familiar symptoms.
Get everything ready.
The problems began one day during softball, Jen's favorite sport.
Softball was her thing. She loved softball. And she was a pitcher on our softball team. Was doing extremely well.
But suddenly that all changes. In the middle of practice, pain grips her abdomen.
I started having this pain, and it just really slowed me down. I couldn't do those things.
It is so intense, her parents take Jen to the hospital.
They thought they saw a mass on one of her ovaries.
And
I panicked. I thought cancer. I was real nervous and concerned, but tried not to show it for her sake.
She's not too young.
Are Sherry's fears justified?
Pay attention to what's going on. I don't want you to worry.
but she's not too young for that.
Could her young daughter possibly be facing ovarian cancer?
And even though it doesn't look like...
The gynecologist explains to them that one of Jen's ovaries is enlarged, but he doesn't think it is cancer.
He really didn't feel that it was a mass, but that my uterus was tilted in a way that made it look like a mass.
So what we're going to do is we'll send her home.
Though it seems the scare is over, the doctor warns Jen and her parents that if the ovary doesn't reduce in size in the next few weeks, he'll need to do a biopsy.
Wanted me just kind of wait it out and see. He didn't feel that there was probably anything really going on.
But Jen can't break free from the mysterious symptoms. A week later, at a cousin's wedding, the crushing pains hit Jen again.
It was just the same kind of problem, you know, the pain and discomfort.
The gynecologist performs a laparoscopy. A fiber optic scope inserted in Jen's abdomen shows the enlarged ovary to be 3 times the normal size.
He noticed that there were several small cysts on both ovaries, but that overall everything looked healthy. Did a biopsy, and that came back okay.
Dr. Mazar is baffled. Is Jen's new pain actually appendicitis, or is it just a symptom of her old problems? If so, why has the pain gotten so horribly worse? While Jen's doctors battle the mysterious symptoms attacking their young patient, 1,000 miles away in rural Minnesota, a strange disease descends on more unsuspecting children.
Hey guys, sit down.
2 teenage girls are struck with puzzling symptoms.
Patients were coming in with severe diarrhea, stomach cramping, pretty significant abdominal cramping, but, you know, of course they're just concerned, what's wrong with me?
Is this the same illness attacking Jen Thompson and Amber Hasenearl?
Yes, hello?
Is it targeting teenage girls? In Orofino, Idaho, Dr. Mazar wrestles with his dilemma. Is Jennifer's enlarged ovary really the problem? Or is it her appendix? They're both in the same area of her abdomen. And appendicitis can be difficult to diagnose.
We tend to overlook it, and it can be a mild abdominal pain. And there are some people that come in and they have no pain. They just don't feel well. They may have a little fever, and you won't find the pain until you examine the abdomen.
Let's go.
Dr. Mazar has to make a decision. If it is appendicitis and he waits too long, a burst appendix could kill Jen. As the doctor struggles with this life and death decision, 80 miles away in Moscow, Idaho, a ruthless predator stalks its next victim. Amber's brother, Justin, a college student, is working on his car when he suddenly gets dizzy. Searing pains clench his stomach.
He called, and he was sick. He had to come home, and he was too sick to even get home.
My dad went and picked him up from school and brought him home, and you could tell right then we had the same thing. You know, we're both laying in bed, can't move.
One thing is now clear. This cruel illness attacks both male and female victims. But what could be the link between Jen, Amber, the Minnesota teens, and now Justin? Without warning, these rural teenagers are suffering violent stomach cramps, diarrhea, fever, and vomiting. But why? And who will be next? The clock is ticking as doctors desperately search for answers. A strange disease attacks randomly and without warning. Children are its prey.
I knew it was a lot worse than the flu, even just starting out like that, because of the cramping in the stomach and then, you know, the sweats and shaking.
Doctors are baffled by the mysterious symptoms. One of the victims, Jen Thompson, has been rushed to the hospital where her doctor makes an emergency decision to operate.
Get everything ready in the hour.
Jennifer was saying that the pain was in the abdomen on the right side, low down. And this is where she had been having ovarian pain. And so when I questioned her, she pointed a little higher up. I'm thinking that she has changed, this is something new, we need to listen to her, and it is probably appendicitis.
Let's go.
Her family is devastated by the violent symptoms that are rapidly destroying their daughter.
I was wishing I could take her place. You know, you don't want to see your child go through any type of surgery. But I knew that, you know, something had to be done because she just wasn't getting any better.
As the distraught Thompsons fearfully await Jen's surgery, the potential killer threatens to take down an entire community. In rural Minnesota, where 2 teenage girls suffered similar attacks of intense pain, diarrhea, and vomiting, the clinic is now virtually flooded with people complaining of the same debilitating symptoms.
Since early this morning when they woke up.
We often will see patients with those same kinds of symptoms, but we don't generally see more than 1 or 2 in a week's time, and we were seeing 3, 4, or 5 in a couple days. That's when we started to suspect that maybe something else was going on. We contacted the Olmsted County Public Health Department and the Minnesota Department of Health immediately. And then we send cultures and they do an investigation.
Back in Idaho, Dr. Mazar is confused by what he finds during Jen's surgery. Her right ovary, the source of her earlier problems, is now grossly enlarged.
I'm just worrying about, is the ovary swelling for some reason and causing all of this pain?
Dr. Mazar biopsies the ovary. Then, as he proceeds with the appendectomy, he also discovers something else, something totally perplexing. Jen's appendix looks normal, but an infection has invaded the area around the organ. What kind of disease could be causing this newest complication? Jen's parents wait anxiously for Dr. Mazar to come out of surgery.
Nothing to do in a hospital except sit there and worry about your kid. It just mentally drains you. I mean, we were so exhausted through this thing because you do nothing and you're just exhausted from the worry and the upset and wondering what's going to happen next.
And Dr. Mazar's report only adds to the confusion and anxiety.
He says, I'm completely baffled. I don't know what's causing the pain.
But he mentions the puzzling infection.
He said everything looks irritated in there and hot, but he says I can find no reason for it.
It should have been just the appendix, but instead it was the area of the appendix and around the appendix.
The doctor is clearly confused. He tells them that all they can do is wait for the pathology reports on the appendix and the ovary.
I really trust Dr. Mazar, but I remember having the feeling, gee, if he doesn't know, who does know? I mean, what are we going to do?
It's really complex.
In the Minnesota Public Health Office, the Olmsted County Director of Disease Prevention and Control gets the report from the rural clinic.
They act as sort of our sentinels out in the community. And when they start to see something that looks suspicious, they'll give us a call.
Rochester here.
The number of calls is starting to escalate.
St. Charles.
To health officials, it's a cause for serious alarm.
Spring Valley.
What kind of terrifying illness is attacking these teenagers? What do these children have in common? In Craigmont, Idaho, the mysterious illness ravages Amber and Justin Hasenearl. Waves of pain grip their bodies.
The cramping got worse. I started feeling like my stomach was tying itself in a knot. Had to lay in bed in the fetal position because any other way hurt too much. I couldn't get out of bed at all unless I had to make a run to the bathroom.
Her brother Justin is suffering from the same distressing symptoms.
It's been 4 days and it's continual, and they had exhausted all the fluids and solids in their body, but they're still getting sick and still going to the bathroom.
And I knew about then that it wasn't the flu, but I had no idea what else it could have been.
In rural Idaho, the Hasenearl and Thompson cases are so isolated, health officials can't yet see the potential killer in their midst. And like Amber's doctors, Dr. Mazar doesn't have all the information he needs to help his patient. But for now, Jen Thompson seems to be getting better.
You feel better today?
She's released early from the hospital.
Well, we'll put you in your bed.
The pathology report on her appendix contains good news.
The pathologist returned it as saying, this is early appendicitis. And so I thought, well, her problem's solved.
She should be feeling better.
Call me anytime.
But Dr. Mazar doesn't know this is only the beginning. Like Amber and Justin, Jennifer will suffer more pain and mysterious symptoms. In a Minnesota lab 1,000 miles away, a microbiologist makes an important discovery. It's the first solid clue as to the identity of the potential killer.
It was exciting when we saw that. We knew we had it. We knew what it was.
And he knows that if doctors and health officials don't find the source of this potentially deadly bacteria fast, the killer will remain at large and attack more innocent children. A mysterious and dangerous illness is attacking teenagers, gripping them with waves of intense pain and nausea. In Minnesota, health officials move closer to an answer. They have no idea that the disease has already struck as far away as Idaho. That night in Orofino, Jen Thompson's pain and fever spike dangerously. Her parents can't believe it. The nightmare is starting all over again.
She just screamed out that it hurt, that she couldn't straighten up. And I just lost it. I was screaming at my husband that we had to take her to the hospital.
Why can't the doctors solve Jen's excruciating stomach pains? What could be causing her mysterious symptoms? In Craigmont, the Hasenearl kids have not improved. It's been 12 days and Amber and Justin are sicker than ever.
It was just kind of scary. It was like we were in a dream. It's just like this isn't happening because it was consuming our lives. We're spending every minute of the day dealing with this.
Ed and Patty panic when they realize Justin now has blood in his stool.
Dr. Jefferson, please. When you start having bloody diarrhea, it catches everybody's attention.
Yes. The doctor instructs Ed to bring in samples for testing.
Thank you, right away.
And he said to get a stool sample. But at that time, there was nothing coming out of them. there was nothing except little flecks of something. So I gathered that up and took that down to the doctor, and they said it was going to take a little while to run the tests.
It was really scary. I really thought I was going to die because it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, and I had no idea where it was coming from or when it was going to stop, and it was terrifying.
Neither does Dr. Mazar. He knows something is very wrong with Jen, but he still can't find the cause for her condition.
The appendectomy incision, which is a very small incision, was healing very nicely. So certainly it's not that. It's not the appendix, because that's gone.
Let me talk to you in front of everybody.
We're both devastated. We're thinking, my gosh, doesn't somebody know what's going on? They've run all these tests. They can't find anything. What's wrong with our kid?
He reviews Jen's symptoms with the supervising nurse.
We're going to probably have to go back in.
You know, we talked about this, and why is this girl not getting any better, you know?
I think so, because...
Are we missing something? You do all these lab tests and everything is negative, 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 but you know there is something wrong with that person.
Desperate for answers, Dr. Mazar decides on one last test for campylobacteriosis, an infection from contaminated drinking water. He orders another stool sample.
I'm in so much pain, nobody knows what's going on. They don't know what to help me. No medication seems to be working. You know, how much worse can it get?
As the mysterious attacker weakens Jen's body, a lab tech in Craigmont studies a specimen of Justin Hasenerl's bloody stool. He makes a startling discovery. A potentially deadly form of foodborne bacteria has found a victim. The technician contacts Dr. Jefferson.
If we hadn't done the culture, we probably would have just assumed that this was a viral gastroenteritis that they picked up at home.
Back in Orofino, the invisible attacker is quickly destroying Jen Thompson's body. Her pain is more than she can bear.
I mean, I've never experienced that kind of pain, ever. And it's just a nightmare to think about.
The most frustrating thing that I had to face was that I didn't know why she was still hurting.
Dr. Mazar makes a final review of Jen Thompson's medical records. He's still bothered by the mysterious infection surrounding her appendix.
The white blood cell count usually increases when there's an infection, and particularly in a teenager, because they react very swiftly to combat the infection.
But Jen's white cell count is doing just the opposite. It's dropping. What powerful enemy is Jen's body trying to fight?
My biggest worry then was that perhaps I had missed something with the ovaries. Perhaps I had missed something in the lymph nodes.
Running out of time, the doctor plays his final card, exploratory surgery. The idea terrifies Jennifer.
Well, she didn't like the idea at all. She'd already had laparoscopy, which is a small operation, but it hurts. And then within the month, she had an appendectomy. And here I am within a few days saying, you know, maybe we're going to have to look again.
They were still thinking that the ovary is causing a lot of the pain, just because of the size that it was. The second surgery that was going to be done by Dr. Mazar was going to be to take that ovary out.
The idea of Jen losing her ovary devastates Sherry.
I am just out of my mind, really. I feel weak, scared, sick to my stomach.
Jen and her parents have no idea that 2 floors away, in the basement of the hospital, a lab technician is about to find a crucial clue to Jen's torment. A strange discoloration has grown in one of Jen's cultures. The technician immediately calls Dr. Mazar. After weeks of pain and confusion, could this small stain contain the secret to Jen's mysterious and horrifying illness?
Then I knew why she had the diarrhea. I knew why she had the pain. I knew why there was that odd-looking inflammation inside the abdomen.
The hunt for an answer is also on in Minnesota. Escalating reports of severe stomach pain and diarrhea send health officials door to door visiting the victims. It's become a full-blown investigation.
Anytime I get a cluster of cases, we are always concerned there might be an outbreak of illness. Our job is to determine, are these cases related in any way? They would appear to be, but we had to find out for sure, and that meant calling each of them and getting information about when their disease started, how long they'd been ill, trying to connect the dots, so to speak.
In Idaho, just as Jen Thompson is being prepped again for the OR, her anxious parents get an urgent message. After 2 weeks of bad news, the Thompsons fear the worst.
I can just feel the blood draining out of my face, and I just feel super weak. And he said, I think we found what's wrong with Jenny.
Usually these things happen.
And he said, salmonella.
We didn't even know what salmonella was. That was one of those diseases you'd heard of, but you had no idea in the world what caused it, what it did to you.
Salmonella is a potentially deadly form of food poisoning characterized by a sudden onset of abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, and vomiting. It can be lethal in the very young and the elderly. Normally, salmonella poisoning occurs in clusters. More than one person becomes ill. Her doctors never suspected food poisoning because Jen's salmonella was an isolated case and had been masked by her gynecological difficulties. As doctors release Jen Thompson from the hospital, Ed Hasenerl finally learns the mystery of his children's illness.
And they called us and told us it was salmonella. It was a relief to find out what it was, that it was something, not just a mystery thing that came and just disrupted our lives so much.
The doctor explains that there's not much they can do for Amber and Justin. With rest and antibiotics, they should recover.
Basically, we just wait it out until it gets out of our system and we'll be fine. So that was a big relief.
But in Minnesota, the number of salmonella cases is escalating daily. And doctors have little time to find the cause of the outbreak before it attacks more people.
If you're not able to find a source, if there's something out there that's continually, producing cases and you can't find it, eventually you're going to get somebody that's going to get really sick or somebody may die.
Oh, Dad!
Will Jen Thompson be the first to die?
I'm sorry, it's okay.
Just as she seems to be getting better, her father rushes her back to the hospital.
It's all right. Give me your hand.
Knife-like pains again rack her body.
Still had really bad stomach pains. My back started really hurting. I had pain along my spine and kidney area and then up into my shoulders.
It's okay. It's okay.
Will Jen become the first casualty of a killer's deadly scourge?
Hold on.
Jen's doctors soon realize the salmonella poisoning has wreaked havoc with her body. Because of her unique genetic reaction to the bacteria, The salmonella has damaged organs and other tissues.
Surgery for a few minutes. We assume that they'll be back soon.
In Craigmont, the Hasenerls get a visit from an Idaho public health official.
If you can just give me a few...
Calls have flooded their office. Many people in the area are suffering the same debilitating symptoms as Justin and Amber.
We were starting to look at what common foods do these people have? What products do they buy in all of these different communities? What is the similar product that they might buy? Is there a similar water source?
And then
Where is the deadly salmonella coming from? The health worker is most interested in what the kids might have eaten the weekend before they got sick.
We knew we ate pizza on a Saturday, and we're going through everything, but nothing really where you could have gotten sick from.
In Minnesota, health officials have a breakthrough. After testing hundreds of samples, they finally find the source. And it's not what they expected. The contaminated food is ice cream. And it's a brand distributed across the country to millions of people. How many more people will the dangerous bacteria strike down?
I just took a look at it.
An outbreak of deadly salmonella ravages the rural West.
It was very rapid. I mean, her pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Although the salmonella is traced to a popular brand of ice cream, the source of the ice cream's contamination is still a mystery and a serious threat to thousands of Americans.
Hi, Mrs. Thompson.
The company recalls the product, which has been distributed throughout rural America, including Idaho. That's when the Thompsons finally learn the cause of Jen's misery.
We need to get it back.
They had stopped at a neighbor and told them that they had salmonella poisoning in their ice cream, and the friend said, well, you better go to the Thompsons.
People remembered the brand because they had it delivered to their door. Their trucks went everywhere. I mean, especially in the rural areas, you'd see their trucks all over.
Yeah, let me know.
Thank you.
But how and where is the ice cream getting contaminated?
Yeah, it's that pipe.
Public health officials descend on the ice cream manufacturing plant, looking for the source of the contamination.
It's a major task to try to be able to isolate where this contamination could have occurred. I mean, this is a huge processing plant, and the equipment is, I mean, you have miles of stainless steel piping and valves and gaskets.
The extensive search produces nothing. The source of the contamination remains a frustrating mystery and a potentially deadly one.
This company distributed product across 48 states. There's a real likelihood that there's going to be other people becoming ill unless we can identify where the contamination is.
Health inspectors race the clock to halt a potential epidemic. They expand their investigation from the ice cream manufacturing plant to the transportation system.
Inspecting these tanker trucks, of course, was probably one of the most difficult. There's a large valve at the end of the truck where they pump the ice cream mix out of the tanker. That whole valve assembly comes apart, and we were taking those apart to make sure that those had been cleaned properly also.
Again, they find nothing. Are the trucks really the source of contamination? Or are the elusive bacteria lurking in some other part of the system? And can the inspectors find it in time? The investigation is bogging down. A concerned trucker nervously makes an anonymous call. He gives the investigators an important tip about the company hauling the ice cream premix.
This trucking company that is hauling the ice cream mix recently got an additional contract to haul unpasteurized liquid eggs.
Unpasteurized eggs are a prime source of salmonella. It's the lead they've been waiting for.
There is a real potential for cross-contamination, depending on how that tanker was cleaned. One of the things that the industry, the dairy industry, does is when they clean out a tanker truck, they're using chemicals that are designed for cleaning dairy products. They're not using chemicals that are designed to eliminate egg proteins.
The investigation narrows down to one tanker, number 197. The records show that it had carried contaminated eggs.
After the eggs were unloaded, the tanker truck may have been rinsed. But if it didn't get cleaned, you have the salmonella there, you have the egg there, you have the water. All you've done is you've taken this stainless steel tanker and turned it into a huge incubator. So you're going to get really rapid growth of salmonella. It's going to survive and thrive beautifully in that environment.
The Minnesota Department of Agriculture clamped down on the negligent trucking company by imposing a heavy fine. Prompted by news of the contaminated food, the Hasenerls suddenly remembered that they too had eaten ice cream. It was the same brand.
It makes you afraid. You don't know where the food's coming from. And you can't even imagine what could happen to those kids if that happened to them one more time. Because they are more susceptible now.
Sherry Thompson thought her food was safe too.
I really went through a bad time. Watching my daughter suffer, going through what she went through, and knowing that I'm the one that bought the ice cream.
The Minnesota ice cream was a nationally distributed product. During the salmonella outbreak of 1994, close to 250,000 people from Maryland to Oregon were sickened by the deadly bacteria. For 3 Idaho teenagers, an innocent pleasure, a bowl of vanilla ice cream, will cause each of them a lifetime of suffering. Amber and Justin Hasenerl learned that they have a rare genetic reaction to salmonella called Reiter's syndrome. It will cause them to struggle with salmonella-triggered arthritis for the rest of their lives.
Amber and Justin were born with HLA-B27, which is a specific type of tissue type that puts them at significant risk if they ever get certain types of infections that can be disabling for life.
There's nothing that can ever make it better. I mean, I ate ice cream, and it's not just the food poisoning made me sick for a week. I'll be sick for the rest of my life, and it'll get worse and worse every year.
Jen Thompson endures several more surgeries and learns that she also has Reiter's syndrome. She too will suffer a lifetime of severe arthritis.
Just fine.
This young lady is going to have a lifelong problem because of that one infection. That was the tragedy of the whole thing, that another teenager can come along and have the same infection and it's wiped out and they have no after effects. And here's this one who has after effects.
To this day, almost 10 years later, there isn't a day that I'm not in pain. And it's hard. You know, I'm hoping it gets better, but I can deal with it, but it hasn't been a day without pain yet.